Yeah. Blackjack. Life is like a game of cards. It's not what you dealt, but how you play it. Yeah. Blackjack. To play each situation correctly. I remember they used to laugh at a brother.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's your boy DELRAY, Richardson, platinum artist, platinum songwriter, Straight Game TV. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel. Please tell a friend. And if, like I say, if you want to be one of the first people notified when I drop some of this Straight Game, please do me a favor and hit the bell notification. I'm going to get right into it. This question comes from a young man from Seattle, Washington. And the question is DELRAY, I recently heard the interview that Suge Knight gave $1 million worth of game, and which he said that he gave 2Pac $1 million in a briefcase when he got out of jail. Is that true? Now, I want you to understand something. I'm going by the monies that 2Pac was owed. Thank you for the question. I appreciate that. The money that 2Pac was owed, right? From the sales of All Eyes on Me and all of the other stuff, right? So now, when 2Pac was released from jail, we've seen all of the recent paperwork that went down. Believe you me, that Suge Knight knew about the bail agreement. Suge Knight knew about the power of attorney, and Suge Knight, he had to know about the situation involving the fact that they hadn't prepared 2Pac a recording contract, right? Now, we're to believe that in that page agreement that Suge Knight was not formally 2Pac's manager, but from that one page, that paragraph, that Kenna was 2Pac's lawyer and Suge was his manager, right? We agree on that, right? Okay. Now, you got to ask yourself a question. And I want you to understand this, because the expenditures that 2Pac would have been given, any expenditures, and I'm going to put it here, right now. Listen to me now. Expenditures, meaning money for housing, clothing, cars, food, whatever, other than it being your royalties, because 2Pac had to work off, paying back the bail agreement money and all of those things, right? So now, that was $1.4 million that he had owed, and he had to get back, right? But specifically in the agreement that he signed, that was the nuts and bolts of what this was, this legal and binding that would be enforceable in court with that the power of attorney agreement, right? In this paragraph, basically it mentions the expenditures that 2Pac, any expenditures that he would be given, would basically be charged and first payable back to Interscope, Atlantic, mainly Interscope, if they gave out any money, right? Now, where do you see it in this paragraph that it says that 2Pac would be given $1 million? Mind you, his deal is with Interscope, right? I'm not saying that Suge Knight didn't give him any money that came from Interscope. That was part of the expenditures, but it wasn't $1 million. That is a fact. It was not $1 million. And the reason why I know that is because, number one, when you deal with the fact of Suge Knight being 2Pac's manager, when you are someone's manager, your job is to basically make money off of the work that they do. There has been no work performed, as of yet to be benefited from when 2Pac got out of jail, right? So now, a manager does not give his artist $1 million. Cash. Why was it said that it was cash that it was given? Think about it now. Because normally you can't trace it, right? but you can, right? So now, that next year, upon Tupac filing his taxes, right, he would have to claim that money, right? Tupac didn't file his taxes saying that he made over $1 million, because that money would have been given to him in 1995 and 1996. Yeah, that wasn't the case. Tupac didn't file that he made $1 million in taxes, or was given $1 million in taxes as far as miscellaneous income. Basically, that's what that would have been charged up as miscellaneous income, if you will, because it wasn't for royalties, right? Suge Knight basically say, I gave him $1 million cash in a briefcase, right? That's how you know that that's not true. You know what I mean? So, like I said, people can, and like I said, I understand at this particular point, Suge doing his movie and all of that, and I wish him the best on that, but, no, I personally, from what I understand and how I know things to work, your manager does not give you $1 million. Your manager hopes to make money off of what you do. And like I just pointed out to you, that Tupac and Suge Knight had no formal management agreement, right? So now, what was the $1 million for? And if you go back to that Dana Moore agreement once again, the $1 million, if you say, well, yeah, that agreement said, that's what Tupac said he wanted, $1 million. Suge Knight wasn't obligated to give that. That was only if he actually wrote up a formal contract with Death Row. That never happened. So how is it now that he has to give him $1 million? He ain't got to give him nothing. The only thing that Tupac can receive legally, honestly, and actually, so let's go with this one. How does Suge Knight plan to get the $1 million back from Tupac? Because he doesn't have a formal management agreement saying any kind of percentage, anything like that. Okay, so now, you just giving him $1 million just to give it to him because y'all cool like that? Do you understand what I'm saying? I just showed you in the Feeney lawsuit that there was no formal management contract. The only thing that was formal and legal and binding was that a contract that Interscope had with Tupac when he came out of prison, right? So the expenditures, meaning all of the stuff that they paid for, the apartments and all of that stuff, the rent for the apartments, the renting of the Rolls Royce, the Mercedes, all of the, clothing and stuff like that, receipts and all of that stuff, they were keeping track of all of that because they were going to get that back once, All Eyes on Me and all of the records that sold like they sold from Tupac, they were going to get that back. Those were part of the expenditures that they were given to Tupac. Hence came in when Tupac passed away. We seen all of the stuff that they still continue to charge to Tupac, even though he wasn't alive anymore. Or the stuff that they charged to him when he was alive that he didn't really know about. And this right here is an example of one of them. Read that. So when I tell you what I'm saying, I'm not saying it to be facetious. I'm not saying it to be I'm coming to you and just giving you the facts based on the questions that I'm being asked, right? And I basically go and I do the research. And mathematics has always been a universal language. 2 + 2 has always been 4, right? So now, that's what I'm telling you. Suge Knight didn't give Tupac $1 million upon his release from prison in a briefcase. Because, once again, I got to ask you this, and I'm going to ask you one more time. Why did he give it to him? For what? Because that Dana Moore agreement in regards to what was supposed to happen was voided out once Tupac signed the bail agreement and the power of attorney. That's voided out. So why would you give him $1 million? And so now, if Suge saying he gave him $1 million, then how would you be able to get that money back? You're his manager. Managers don't give their artists $1 million. It doesn't happen that way. It doesn't go down that way. Record labels do. Or, like I said, the stipulation with the expenditures in that agreement that Tupac signed with Interscope, he could get $1 million from them. But they didn't give him $1 million. They gave him some money, I'm sure. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, and when people said that Suge Knight bought Tupac mother a house, Suge Knight didn't buy Tupac mother a house. Tupac bought his mother a house. I think people get it messed up. It's like, what? You're not going to go buy somebody something once again, right? For nothing. It's just not the way that the business works. Any money that Tupac got was going to be charged against his royalties. The agreement said so. So if Interscope gave an expenditure for Tupac to put a down payment on his mom's house or whatever that was, that money was recoupable against his royalties. You understand what I'm saying? So just to be clear on what that is, what that was, and what that meant from the brother, the gentleman from Seattle, Washington, basically that's how that worked. So no, from my perspective and the research that I've done and understanding what I understand about this business, Suge Knight didn't give Tupac $1 million cash in a briefcase. It just couldn't have happened. For various amount of reasons. Because that $1 million would have to have been accounted from somewhere, right? And Tupac would have to have paid taxes on that. Your boy DELRAY. Straight game.